Democratic support for her dry up? Does the DLCC have a position on whether that was the right move given the competitive nature of the House district?
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, right? But we've got multiple paths to victory in the House in Virginia, which is, I think, important to note here. I would also say that these incredibly personal attacks on her are not showing up in conversations that we're having with donors, and that the dynamics of what happened and the dynamics of the investigation and revenge porn certainly, right, are being worked through with authorities, and we'll continue to work through that. But I think our goal, right, remains to ensure that we're executing these campaigns in the final hours to the best of the ability, and that we've got a really great GOTV mobilization happening. We've got just an incredible team on the ground in Virginia, working day in and day night to deliver these victories, and an incredible team here at DLCC, right, who are supporting all of those efforts.
Great. I know we have a lot of questions. We only have time for a few more, though. Next one is from Can Wall of Mira Sangeet. She said, what kind of impact will the upcoming elections have on the presidential election in 2024? And is there any message you might want to convey to the South Asians and first-time voters?
So, we're 24 hours, or a little over 24 hours to polls close in Virginia. While 2024 is creeping upon us, it feels like a lifetime away in this environment, where the world is ever changing, events are ever changing. So I think under that, right, like that idea, the races are going to take shape over time, and they're going to kind of ebb and flow with what is happening within this country, right, and likely worldwide on that presidential. But there are a lot of things to learn, and we've got a lot of really interesting data points here in the States that show, again, a 7% overperformance in these specials. We're learning about the issues on the doors that voters still care deeply about in states that matter, not just for our work here in the state legislatures, but also in the path to the presidency. We're going to learn a lot about who's taking advantage of same-day registration, and how we can continue to ensure that new registrants, that communities that may be underrepresented in the process are enfranchised in it, and that we are able to replicate that. There's nothing more important than people being able to participate in our democracy. And I think that we'll have some interesting lessons learned from this election that we can apply forward.
Great. And then next question, let me pull it up here. Is essentially it's from Terry Wu of the Epoch Times. She says, what are the main issues that will carry Democrats in the majority in Virginia? How important is abortion? And are Republicans underestimating the abortion issue again, as they did in 2022?
I think they are both underestimating it, and I don't think they care. Republicans being the they in that statement. If you saw, or if you're following along last year, Democrats had an enormous successful 2022 where we created new Democratic trifectas, and we were able to deliver right on the promises to a lot of voters who care deeply about the issue of abortion, and more broadly, what Republicans were going to do to freedoms that they care deeply about. Not long after that sort of resounding victory, where voters, right, made their stance really clear on this issue, an abortion ban was introduced in the Virginia legislature in their legislative election year. After those results, they don't care. Republicans do not care what the will of the voters are on this, where the American people are on this issue. What they care is about the few of them in context, right, of the American public who are in power, who are trying to inflict their views and their values and their way of the world on voters. And I think that that's really, really crystal clear. It's not going to change. They are not learning lessons. And for those Republicans who are trying to find their way in this Republican Party whom they no longer agree with, like, we welcome them over to our side, where we're just trying to move the issues forward that matter most to voters. We are trying to create, states that really look out for all members of communities, that have really good, strong schools and excellent parks, and the kinds of communities that are well represented in states led by Democrats. So I think the issue remains salient. I think Republicans do not care. And I think that we're going to continue to hear about it as we move forward.
Great. And last question we'll get to today. I know there are others, but we will, if you have a question for us, we'll talk about how to get that question over to Heather later. So last question is, some have criticized the language of issue 1 in Ohio, saying it's